Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Friday to you and your family. We're going to take a quick look here at Solana, see what's going on, and make sure we double check a few key factors here. We saw a pretty massive sell-off after that little pump that we saw here yesterday from, 165 to 180, and then it just dropped instantly after that. So it's kind of some shenanigans that didn't really make a ton of sense considering Bitcoin didn't pull back massively. So we're going to look at that and a few of the key factors here. So if we do take a look at our premium here, we can see, of course, Bitcoin 22%, Harmony 1 24, and a good little 21% there from Solana in 1 hour. We caught that pump, got that nice little dip. So congrats to our community members for that. Thank you again for the fantastic feedback. Glad that all worked out well for you. I was paying close attention to the charts as all this wonky behavior occurred during that ETF approval for ETH. So let's take a quick look here. Oh, just before we get started, do me a favor, hit the like button, comment below, one or the other. It works really, really good and it helps grow the channel here. So deeply appreciate that so we can get this in front of more people. Let's talk about liquidation. Okay, so massive amount of liquidation on the downside. It's half the reason why that candle wick down to 165 made a lot of sense, because of the simple fact that there was a lot of liquidity down at 165 when we looked at larger time frames. So what was it from before? And I've sent this out on my playout chart here on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. See if I can find it really quick for you here from yesterday. We can see that there was a lot of liquidation. Nope, sorry, that is ICP. Here we go, Solana. We can see a lot of liquidation down at 165. That's kind of what we're focusing on. So we put our entry target at 165. I think we got filled at 167, but I wanted to make sure we didn't lose out on that primo chub there. But either way you look at it, the price action swept that lower liquidity level and essentially, didn't look back until a couple hours later. It came right back down. So I'm showing you that and mentioning that because liquidation makes a big difference when it comes to trying to understand where the price action is going to go next. Good news is there's not a lot of liquidation to the downside, minus this 155 range, which we've talked about previously, being like a tertiary entry level or entry target. Again, it was 155, 165, and then I think 174 was the other one. All those levels have been swept, minus 155, but that's not a super massive accumulation of volume. So that could imply that we may not see the price come down below this 0.618 fib level at 157. Okay, so heads up, 157 could be the next target because that is essentially the 0.618 fib and is really, really common for that level to be retested. But we did see a perfect bounce-ish off of that 0.5 fib level at 163. So what does that do for us here on the daily? Good news is we're still above all moving averages, and the great news here too is that 155 to 157, that's right where all the moving averages are accumulating. That's a really good sign. Okay, it's right below that buy zone there. So generally speaking, at this point, we're looking fairly favorable. We're still over 50 on the RSI, haven't lost that yet, and stochastic swinging down, which is pretty sensible. That's happening on most altcoins and even Bitcoin. So really, there's nothing here that's like super stark, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But again, we're starting to see that shift in momentum. In a perfect world, the price action comes down to consolidate at 157 to 163, and then we see the price action hold above 50 on the RSI. Stochastic swings all the way down, and we get ready for that next leg up. But the truth is we're still below this descending trend line, and that's generally unfavorable. And we've also got a massive doji yesterday, followed by a pretty hard hammer down. So there's a lot of reasons why trading into this isn't significantly advantageous, but we can say that there's a ton of opportunity here between 157 and 160. Upwards of 166. So let's quickly note here too, I forgot to look at this. Let's just quickly understand the volume profile here and just kind of see roughly where the largest accumulation of volume is if we zoom into, since March, roughly March. We can see here, and that kind of reaffirms that 150 to 155 I talked about yesterday. 147, 146 is that level of control. It's a point of control, basically most amount of volume in that range. So again, this is a larger perspective, last 2 or 3 months worth of data, but sometimes the macro really helps us understand where supply and demand zones are. So 147 is going to hold as a champion. So if I were to consider like an aggressive long 150, right in that range, seems appropriate. Taking a look here, of course, at the 4 hour, we've lost 2 of the important moving averages, and we're trending down closer to the 100 and the 200. So again, the 200-day SMA right there at 152. Again, we're seeing a lot of good little supporting factors between 147 and 152. But secondary to that, we can see again 0.618 fib level. I think that's the most important thing here. If we get a wick down, 157 would be a stellar entry. So me personally, adding heavy between 150 and 152 just kind of makes sense based on everything we're seeing here. But the truth is, we're down below 50 on the RSI. Stochastics kind of a big mess here. MACD is diverging, and money flow index is coming down. So we don't really have any incentive to want to take a long. If you take a long right now, it's kind of foolhardy because there's no reason or confirmation to have taken it, okay? Everything we've seen here so far is fairly well bearish. There are some bullish macro signs, of course, with support. We've talked about that. But leading into this here, there is absolutely no reason on the 4-hour time frame to consider a long position. I recognize, if you are, day trading and you're kind of watching it close, that's a different story, right? But when it comes to swing trading, it doesn't make a ton of sense. There's no confirming factors here letting us know that we have a solid long consideration. First of all, we have to establish a range before we decide to take a long. And we could see a range here forming, right? This very well could be a range that we're seeing. Let me go ahead and kind of show you an example. Because again, when you are trading and you're trying to establish a shift in momentum, we have this descending trend that's kind of running concurrent with the exception of this one candle wick here. It's still a descending, right? We're still working with this descending trend. To break a descending trend, you need to establish range-bound activity, which we're kind of seeing here. This is a stretch. This is just kind of giving you an example. But hypothetically, the price continues to do this, and then we inevitably break above this descending trend line, and we get a bullish backtest of the most recent high. That's when we consider entry for a long position, again, more confidently. Not to say you couldn't still get lucky between now and then. I mean, you could follow any other person online and find a good 50 to 100x leverage trade. Okay. But that's going to do you nothing at the end of the day because you're going to get destroyed with liquidation, and it's going to be a terrible experience, at least in the long run. You'll get lucky a few times. But again, trading isn't about luck. It's about consistency and minimizing your risk and maximizing your gain. Anyways, what I'm getting at here is until we break free from this in this range, there's really no reason to consider taking a long position because we truly haven't even effectively broken this range, right? We haven't even established a range. I'm just kind of giving this example because there's this 0.5 and this 0.382 fib level. The price doesn't go any lower. We'll be lucky to see the price, do one of these, right? Until we see that happen, there's no point in doing it, okay? Let's quickly note here, Ichimoku Cloud confirm is also running concurrent with this descending trend line, reaffirming that resistance range. We can also reaffirm here that lagging span is free and clear for roughly the next 10 to 12 hours. So that implies there's no position to be taken to the upside, and if you're going to consider a short, you actually have full right to do so. You could even consider a short at this 0.382 fib low at 169 and have luck to range it down to this 164 mark. That's essentially what day traders do. I would use a 15-minute time frame and some smaller moving averages to consider that with RSI as a factor. I don't day trade anymore. That's why I have a day trading bot that does the work for me. That's all part of our Premium Plus group, which, by the way, it did very well yesterday, contrary to all the manipulation. So you do got to be careful, of course, when the market does what it's doing. But at this point here, there's no reason to presume the price is going to reverse itself. And I would say that we're entering a support range. So if Solana comes down, it's not going to be coming down that much further. I think 150 is egregious, and 155 to 160 is a really good consideration for a long. We're just not there yet. And I don't know. I personally don't like trading into these kind of dips. And while you could argue that we did the same thing yesterday, that was a liquidity sweep. There's no more liquidity that we can see in this exact range right now. And until there's more that's established, there's no incentive for the whales to push the price action further down either. All right. Anyways, I've gone on a tangent here. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you learned something. Comment below, like, subscribe, follow, help us grow our Twitter, Telegram, Discord, TikTok now, YouTube Shorts. I got it all now just so I can get you some well-rounded knowledge in the cryptoverse. Last but not least, be sure to trade BitUnix. This is a favorite exchange for our community. I like to promote them because they are extremely ethical and they're super awesome at how they do things. So no KYC or VPN required. Link down below. Check them out. I think you're going to love them. Use my link to register. Awesome rewards. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.